some insights about this year. Because today we already live in a completely different cycle. You have to understand it like this. This is the Raya Mandana. This is also a calendar. Whenever we hit gate 41, you see gate 41 is on the top left, close to this black thick line. There's gate 41, there's ground. Boom. This is the start of the year. And now people say, why should it be the start of the year? Why is it not 60? Why is it not 13? Whatever, 41 is when we put those hexagrams, these numbers, into connection to our biology.
Expert.
If we put 41 into the connection into our biology, it is the amino acid that starts things. It's a start codon. So whenever, for every human being, for every human life form, whenever we hit gate 41, in the first line, this is the beginning of a new cycle. Okay? Gate 41 is a drive. It's a pressure that wants to experience something new. There's people who even have that gate. Okay? And they are driven to experience something new. So every year we have gate 41 as the starting point. And because this is in the transit I show you right now, this is the starting point of this year. You see there is gate 41 in the sun, and the sun always needs to be grounded because otherwise there wouldn't be life. The sun is grounded in earth. So the father is grounded in the mother. Okay? The mother is, or the earth is, in 31. Leading. Yes, we need to have a direction for a new start. That's all it says. And every year, it's always gate 41 or 31. This is always the start. It's always the start for a new year.
Opposites.
Exactly. So now, the thing is also, I tell you now we have a new cycle starting, and why is it not on New Year's Eve? New Year's Eve is happening on a specific date that has nothing to do with our planetary constellations. So it's made up by time illusion, And every city celebrates it at a different time because they have different time settings and whatever. The real planetary reset of a cycle is on the 21st or 22nd of January. This year it was on the 21st, so it was yesterday evening. Yesterday 11 minutes after 7 in the evening, a new cycle began. That means all the people who made New Year's resolutions on New Year's Eve, on the 31st to the 1st of this 2025, they couldn't really arrive anywhere because they were still stuck in an old energy that was coming to an end. To understand this, I need to show you something real quick. You see, we start the new year here. But to see it correctly, we need to see the quarters. There is the quarter of initiation. The quarter of initiation is okay. New things, new understandings, fresh spring, everything can be possible. And then we build something from those ideas, understandings. And then when we build something like a house, we move in and create a family. And then we die. Okay? We're all gonna die. So this quarter here is about death. It's about transforming. It's about letting go. It's about going beyond what life is, for example. So we have been in the last months in this quarter. So when we celebrate New Year, this is in the gate 38. I don't know if you recognize, but in the most countries, New Year's Eve is connected to a lot of violence. We shoot things in the sky and people get drunk and fight. Gate 38 is the gate of fighting. This is a driven energy that is really here to go into opposition and to fight. So obviously, This has nothing to do with a new start. So here is what we celebrate New Year's Eve. And there's still a lot of weeks to go until it's really there, until we really have an end of a cycle, where we really go into a new time, into a new possibility. So now we are at gate 41. And now, after gate 41, after the start, we go into what is our needs? What is our needs? And to find out our needs, we need to listen. And when we found our needs and we listened, we can finally have a revolution. And when the revolution is there, we can finally see what the fates, the destiny has for us. We find our spirit. We maybe connect in a community with the people we love. Then we doubt it. We find grace and spirit. Then there is a crisis. There always needs to be a crisis. And then in the crisis, we find a new way for love, and so on. You know, I can go through this and explain you all the cycles, but this is not what it's about today. Today, I would like to show you, because if we have a snapshot of this moment, when the new year starts in gate 41, what you can see here, this snapshot tells us or gives us insight, what will this year bring to us as a conditioning. So some of you maybe don't know what conditioning means or what I'm talking about. What it means is all of us are always influenced by the planets around us. I mean, people say, oh no, this cannot be true. Yeah, but you know, the sun is influencing your mood, isn't it? The moon is influencing you as a woman, for sure. Every woman that I know that really took time to investigate in their own cycle knows that the moon has an effect on her. And men will also be affected by that, by the way. So why should Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, Mars, Venus not have an effect on us? They do. We can measure this effect through this human design chart because we have planetary constellations that are calculated in the wheel, and then they will give us some insights through this colored in aspects. So this is something like a filter that is put on us, okay? Or you could say the background music, we had 1 year of music that was like this, now it changes to this new song. And obviously when there's a song in the background at one moment, you will just start to be in this rhythm of this music. You know, it will just happen. You cannot not hear it, so to say. It's always there. It's always there. It's always getting you, no matter where you go. And this year, what I can clearly see right away, and maybe some of you already saw it, but what I can see clearly, we will have a year full of changes. Full of changes. Because this is a channel, 36, 35, that is primarily about experiencing a change. It's also the channel of crisis. We had a little bit of like an aperitif of this channel in the last couple of weeks, because this channel is activated for all of us since beginning of December. So we could feel a bit like this crisis, and everything is a bit more emotional, and we can, it's chaotic, and people get aggressive and rage, and all of this has to do with this channel, with this energy. So when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, now for 1 year we have this theme, we have this cycle of, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this, but hey, don't worry. The moment when you realize who you are and that you have an inner authority that you can trust, it doesn't matter what's going on in the outside. It doesn't matter if it's raining, if you have your own, and you can just put on a coat, right? This is just the weather, okay? The cycle, so to say, that I present here for the Rave New Year 2025, this is almost like a weather forecast. Just because the weather will be bad doesn't mean you should have a bad day or you cannot do this or whatever. Yeah, there will be limitations. We have still gate 60 in Pluto, and Pluto is already limiting, so double limiting. We had this since 2020. I mean, this is the preparation for the future. Some of you don't know, but we are in the end times of a golden age, even though you think it was a bad age, but this is the end. We will go into an age where everything will be so different that a lot of people will be shocked. Because this time where we are living right now has to do with bargains. We can really trust our governments in the sense of if we need money, if we have kids, they will pay. I mean, the most time, 99% they will give you the money. There is, whenever we want, we wake up in the morning and we can get any food we like, We can get olive oil from Greece in Portugal. It's insane, to think about that this is actually there. Why? All of this is possible because of a background frequency that will end in 2027. The cycle of this year, again, will prepare us. The last couple of years were like preparing, and this year will really be a trailer for what's to come. Like a teaser of what's to come. So if you can have if this year you will really stay yourself and you can deal with all of this, you are prepared. You're really prepared. If it really is too much for you, hey, it's fine, You still have time to learn, to trust yourself, to trust your inner authority. That's why we do this. That's why we are sitting here in the Lab 64, to have an experience together, to share information, to get prepared together. I don't want to spread fear. It's not about this, We don't need to be afraid. We don't know what's to come. We don't have any idea what will be there. And I don't know what change means. Maybe it's something positive. It doesn't mean that it's always negative. Crisis doesn't always mean it's negative, Whenever in medical terms, crisis is just a word for you are over the worst, The crisis is the peak, and then it can get better. So we have gate 36 and gate 35. Gate 36 is the darkening of the light. Yeah, there will be an unknown future. We don't know what will be. If you look into politics, that what is really not my thing. But if you look there, we suddenly have a new president in America. One day before the Rave New Year, so to say, everything changed again. So, this is not a coincidence. This is the program making its thing. And the program doesn't care about our individual feelings or whatever. The program is the program. If you have seen the movie Matrix, it's almost like that. There is a program at work since thousands of years, and it doesn't care if we feel good or die or be happy or whatever. It doesn't care about us. We're just little particles of consciousness floating in this system. But we have the possibility, inside of this limitation, inside of this program, to at least be ourselves, to at least experience who we are and go our way and make what is good for us, instead of get conditioned by change. I need to change. I really need to make a new experience. I really need to overcome the crisis. I need to crash the limitation. This is going to happen in most people's heads. Usually this channel is very sexual, but I wouldn't say that in this conditioned transit or in this cycle it has to do with sexuality. It's more the opposite. It's more like there will be no time for this because there will be so much chaos that people try to fix what they can, because you cannot fix crisis. You cannot fix change. How are you going to fix change with things that maybe have worked before but not work anymore? You saw a little bit of this already in the times of COVID, where they tried again with the same shit to beat something that didn't work. Let's put masks again. Okay, yeah, for what reason again? We already know it didn't work. It didn't help nothing. Let's make another booster. Yeah, so for what reason? We already know that it actually is detrimental. We have facts now, years later, but we know it. The thing is that, we are so conditioned to act like from this mental plane that we cannot accept and surrender to change. We cannot just accept limitation. And this is really a year where it's about this, really. If you are not able to accept a limitation, you will not have transcendence. What is transcendence? What is this word again? It means that you can be aware of the limitation, and by being aware of the limitation, you will not be limited anymore by it. Huh? The moment you know how big the room is, it doesn't matter how small or big the room is, because you right now know this is what you can use. It's better than feeling limited, right? It also means that if you look at gate 60, it is in the 6th line. So, there's always Tatiana drew this very beautiful building of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like a house. You have the 1, 2, 3 in the lower levels and the 4, 5, 6 in the upper levels. They all have a kind of theme. I will not go into detail now, but just so you see, the 6 is really aloof, okay? It's aloof. It's somewhere up there. It has nothing to do with the process anymore. And this is the same now with the limitation that we will face in this cycle. And this cycle's limitation is called rigidity. So here I wrote, or I took from the Rave I Ching, it's either the intuitive intellect to recognize when absolute rigidity is essential, but with innovative application to lessen its severity. So, yeah, the limitation will be there. We need to accept it. We need to accept the limitation. But if we use our intellect to recognize and innovate, we can overcome it. But we also have the downside, what usually applies for most people in this big world, because they're unstable with themselves, they don't know who they are, they live out their openness, they're lost in this conditioning. Then we have the dogmatic, principled, and carefully reasoned understanding that is uncompromising in its severity and often coldly brutal in operation. Or in other words, an uncompromising and severe acceptance of restraint, so uncompromising that the restraint may become unbearable and lead to chronic depression. We will see a lot of chronic depression, and I just mean this in a personal human sense. I mean this in a sense of economics. There will be a chronic depression in our economics. This could be a limitation, And this can also mean, weather's change. I mean, the new year came and tonight it was like such a thunderstorm. I was like, okay, yeah, that already brings this feeling of what this year is showing us, And then we look at something maybe a bit different, because we have the SouthNode and the NorthNode. Usually this is the perspective. In this sense, it's more like the stage we're in. Some people say, you take the SouthNode first for the first half year and then the NorthNode for the second half year. I don't know, I will just tell you what it is. We have in the SouthNode, so if it maybe is the first half year, we have the determination of the self pushing upward in the first line, and this is the potential for creative success through dedication. So again, the program reminds us of, okay, maybe with dedication, you will overcome the change. You will have no problem with the change. If you dedicate, if you're in it, if you let go, if you just surrender to the change, instead of just trying to jump out of it. We are already in. There's no turn. There's no way back. It's already started. We need to surrender now. We need to let go. We are already in the roller coaster. We are on top. And now it's going down. You cannot get out anymore. Breathe. Stay with yourself. It's going to be okay. Nothing's bad going to happen if you follow yourself. And then on the other side, we have also gate 25. This is the NorthNode. Maybe this is the second half of the year. Maybe this is already there. Let's see. You can check this for yourself. Try to see it. Be aware of it. So here we have selflessness, and because the first line of gate 25 can never be really selfish, because it's a line that doesn't have an exaltation. This is not possible for us humans until a certain point. So it will always tend to publicize one's selflessness. I did a charity to save the rainforest. It's not selfless anymore. So here we have the insecurity of a self manifested in times of challenge. So suddenly we should really be aware of who tries to sell something selflessly but actually makes it out of a selfish position. So there will be a lot of people in our environment that tries to selfishly pushing upwards, selling us selfless things, but actually they just do this to benefit from the success of others. Okay? So this is also something we can see. And then there is the moon. The moon, in this sense, let me see what I noted down. Let's see, where do I have it? Yeah, the moon is so to say, in this sense, could be the focus of the year. Some other people say the moon in a cycle chart is like the morals or the collective, so to say. And here we have gate 50. Gate 50 is very cold-blooded. This is not something warm, even though it's called the gate of values. Peter Schubert says, for him, values is not the right word. It's more like healthy priorities. So where will be the priorities this year? And who will decide what is a healthy priority? You think we will decide this for the community, for our country? No, usually it's somebody up there who decides what is a healthy priority. So here we have leadership as a line, 6th line again. So I wrote down from the Rave teaching, the strength to maintain one's values, but at the expense of harmonic relationships. What does it mean? For example, some country leader says, we cannot change our values, we will stop that, this and that, or we will, whatever the case may be. But because they do this, and it's based on the expense of a harmonic relationship, this can lead to a lot of crisis, maybe even war. You know, for example, I don't know, some country says, we don't want to take any more immigrants because this is not our values. Suddenly there is a bit of less peace. You know what I mean? This is what's there as a focus, what everybody will see. And then we have Mercury in gate 54, 54. This is the gate of ambition, so there will be ambition here too. It's called selectivity, it's selective ambition. So it's the energy to restrict relationships that hinder ambition, or, what I guess will be more a theme, a waste of energy. We are not only limited in our resources this year, we'll go through a crisis that will have an outcome that we will not know. No, we will also waste energy. We will waste so much energy this year. So please be aware, this is not you. Whenever you catch yourself that you waste money, energy, resources, get aware like, why am I doing this? You know, and this can be like, okay, because there's a crisis, I really need to invest all my money and waste energy in something you cannot control. This new cycle is here to remind us that we have no control over nature. But we still think this. We are so ignorant that we think we need to save nature. We cannot save nature. Nature will save us if we are lucky and don't go against it all the time. And then we have Venus. Venus, I mean, we often think Venus has to do with love, but this is more like the headlines. It's the social standard, okay? This will be the headlines in the newspaper. This will be the social standard, the status quo, the propaganda. And here we have the graceful gate that also can be the opposite of grace, because we have limited grace this year. And the second line is called charm school. So we have the belief that style can mask nature. So just because somebody smiles and the person smiles doesn't mean that this person is good-willed, you know? So here we have the legalization of form over substance, where the style is energized at the expense of awareness. So people will try to hold on to everything is okay, everything is nice, we don't have war, no, we don't have a crisis, everything is beautiful, look at this, there's a little cat photo, oh, it's so nice. You know, they try to mask the mess. This will be the propaganda. And then we go to Mars. Mars is in the gate of confusion, not confusion, in the gate of doubt. And, I mean, this is always a pressure. Gate 63 is always pressuring.
And Mars is usually a planet that is very immature. It's an immature energy. It's an energy where we can grow, and this is something that maybe gets exaggerated because it's burning. It's really rebellious, so to say. So what do we have here? We have the pressure to doubt, and we have nostalgia. We already had this last year. I have never been so nostalgic since like last year. It's crazy. I had so many nostalgic moments last year. I was really like, what is happening? This is not me. But it's still in the transit. It's still there. It's still here to give us something. Maybe it's important to be nostalgic. And here in this sense, it means revolutionary nostalgia. It's illogic and the potential obsession with old suspicion and doubt. So it's like we are also holding on to old things. We cannot leave the old doubts behind. I doubt that we can finally make it. Or I doubt that this change will bring us something. Or I doubt that Trump will finally bring a change, or whatever the case may be. There is still this old doubt of this cannot be. There is no space for new things. We already explored everything. We know everything instead of being open. And we have the doubt again in Saturn. And Saturn is a very different energy. I mean, Mars is this, okay, yeah, we grow there, and this is an immature action, so people will doubt based on old beliefs. But in Saturn, it is more, this we should be cautious about. Because Saturn can be harsh to us, So in Saturn, we have again the sixth line. In Mars, we didn't have nostalgia. In Saturn, we had nostalgia. In Mars, we had asceticism. So in Mars, the immature thing was to go into isolation, to preponder on the small, on the detail. Yes, exactly. It was 62.4. And Jupiter gave 35. In the first line, in detriment. I mean, this sounds very bad. I hope it's okay, but it sounds bad. It sounds bad in the sense if you impose it on our leaders. Because 35 is the gate of change. It's the gate of progress. So we have a possibility this year to really have progress. That's amazing. We can overcome crisis. We can have progress. We can explore new things. We can have adventures together. And so on. We will unlock new emotional moments. All of this. But the thing is, the first line of gate 35, what by the way is in Jupiter, is called humility. So this is it's the ability to accept rejection. But because it's in detriment, it's a self-destructive reaction to rejection. So somebody says, I'm coming in peace. I don't want, okay. Now imagine some people who have a little button where they can click for a nuclear bomb and they get rejected. And we have this in the transit, that rejection will lead to the feeling of being humiliated, loss of worth. Wow. So again, the only thing we can do is lean back, watch, follow the body, and use our intrinsic things. Because at the end, it doesn't matter what is written there and what will be there. It doesn't matter at all. It's interesting to watch. Yeah, we can see it maybe, and maybe we can help people. Hey, this is the transit, don't worry. Listen to your body or your heart or whatever. But it's interesting. So, this year, be aware that if you are rejected, that you don't feel worthless. This year will be really a test of, Can you be yourself even though you will be rejected? Because the tendency is that you will be self-destructive the moment you are rejected, because this is energetically here. Okay? So you could feel like every rejection that comes towards you, it feels like a humiliation. Why do you humiliate me? And the other just said no, because it's not correct. You know? If there's a generator and I ask, hey, would you like to help me with the food? And the generator goes, what to do? It's not that the generator rejected me. It's just the generator says, energetically, I don't have energy to do that. And if I would do it still, I would be frustrated and we both wouldn't be happy. And the same for a projector or whatever, or manifester. The projector and the manifester usually don't ask them. You inform in a way, or you put a funny why, like how question. How do you feel today? Could be okay. And if the projector or the manifester says, I don't want to talk right now, don't take it as humiliation. It just means they cannot, or it's not there right now. So this is really a thing we should be aware of this year. Because Jupiter represents the expansion and growth. This can really, to understand this, to not fall for this stuff, can make us joyful and protects us. And then we have obviously Neptune in gate 36. So 35 is at the throat and 36 is the starting point for the 35. So again, the 35 is the progress, but you need crisis for progress. Always. There is no progress without crisis. This is what it teaches us. And the 36th in Neptune is called justice. And now people say, oh, finally we have justice and all these bad leaders will be defeated. No, I don't think so. Because the line is also has a subtitle, the inevitable survival of right. Who decides what's right? Usually it's the theme of might is right. Huh? And who has the might? Usually not the people who know where to go and what's going on, what's necessary. If you would ask the farmers, they would know what's necessary for the land right now. Not the ones who are sitting in their chairs in the office. They have no idea what's needed to sustain us. So we have 36, justice, with a funny line that says, those whom the gods wish to destroy, they first make mad. So there will be a lot of mad people this year. Because there will be some people who are in the way of the program that will need to be pushed away. The correctness of crisis when it arises out of pure feelings gives us another insight. It gives us the insight of a feeling is not a thought. A feeling is not here to be acted on. It is just a feeling. It's just a itness. It's just there. We're just in it. We go with it. We see what's happening. We don't make expectations. And after this cycle, we will know what the cycle was for. We will not come to a conclusion inside of the cycle. So just for you to know, this crisis will end in a couple of months for a bit. And then restart again. It's like it's going and coming and going and coming. But there's something else that's very interesting, and this is Pluto. I already said Pluto has rigidity. It's this uncompromising energy that can lead to chronic depression. This year, a 246-year cycle of Pluto, if I'm not wrong with 246, but I think it was 246 years, it will end. This is a big thing for us. And this is also preparation for the future. Pluto will finally leave the gate of limitation. Yeah. And we have this for so long now. All this limitation, all this depression, all this pressure. It will, at the 5th of December this year, it will be finally gone. There will be a short stop because Pluto will change into gate 41 for a moment because it's retrograding.
Everyone,
Yeah, I guess somewhere there. If you're interested this year.
there's a break a little, right?
Oh, they did.
Click, review, click overcome.
It's all, it's when you look at this Rave mandala. If a planet goes around the Rave mandala, you have to see it like this. Because we don't statically move in circles in our universe. Some planet comes and then has a retrograde, because the Earth has its own axis and it's elliptical and so on. So some planet seems like, it goes finally into gate 41. That's, no, and it goes back, So this is what we will experience, and this is the last phase, as far as I know, of the Plutonian cycle that started 1779. This was the start of the Industrial Revolution, if I'm not wrong. This is what Pluto brought us with this cycle. This also means this will end. And the new cycle will be very different. And Pluto, as I said, is really a thing, And sometimes I make a joke because we don't see Pluto as a planet anymore in our solar system. So I call it, this is the revenge of Pluto, It's the revenge of Pluto. So Pluto represents life, death, and transformation, but also associated with restraints and limitation. And this is a planet, an energy that cannot be messed with, okay? This is really a strong conditioning force for us. But this will end and we will go into a new cycle. This is not what we will talk about now, but just so you know, there will be a big event this year. This is a year that is really, that have some impact, that is interesting to be alive actually and experience it. Mm-hmm. What else? Yeah, it's a lot of things, but, there's a second way of how people look at a cycle, and this is they take both sides. So right now I just showed you the black side, but if you look at this for a moment too, we can also see that there is, this channel of, like to try to use the caring energy to create values, to help the offspring, to care, to preservation, to preserve something, There's also a defined ashna. We can see there's a lot of opinions, a lot of facts, there's a lot of insights, there's storytelling. So we could see here this year, we will see that it's not just about having the facts. We need to have the facts and need to express them individually in a way that is based on emotional understanding. This will help us this year, not just facts. It's also about inner insights. It will be about your individual expression that can stimulate. Just so you know, there's a second way. If you go back to the other view, another thing that's interesting is we have in the transit view, we have a completely open ashna, we have a completely open ego, we have a completely open sacral. So this year, what is limited, what will not be there? Life force, resources, like tribal resources, food, for example. And people will not know what they should think. They don't know what they should think. They don't know what they should, use their willpower for. They don't know what they should use their energy for. They don't have a feeling of what is worth, what is value anymore. So maybe this could lead to a kind of inflation. We don't know what is value. We don't know what to think about value. We don't know what to think about value and what to do with it. So could also be a thing. Again, any kind of future prediction is bullshit, just so you know. This is really just playing with keynotes and maybe something will happen, something we can see. It just helps us to not get lost in it. Yeah? But the future is always unpredictable, always. Yeah, you can have hunches, visions, okay. But what really will be there 100%, nobody can tell. Yeah, so there's a lot of openness this year, you know. That also means there is a lot of wisdom to achieve. There can be wisdom achieved of what actually needs to be done. When enough is enough can be found out. It can be found out what to give promises for and not, what contracts are actually necessary. There will be so much limitation, and when there is so much limitation that holds us back and cuts us down, this is a moment where we finally really figure out what we actually need, right? I mean, we all have these wishes. I want a car, I want a house, I want this, I want this, I want that. But if you're so limited that you cannot afford nothing, what will be necessary then? What you want will change, right? And this is something we will learn this year too. To really figure out what you really need. Need is different than want. No? So, on the other side, it can be a beautiful year of change and transformation. It can be a year that brings an openness to change and transformation, progress, you know, progress into an unknown world beyond our imagination, just to give you a positive mindset too. It can be a year full of new expressed individual genius opinions or facts about stuff that we had no idea about. They just found out something about, a couple of weeks ago, found out something about that the brain liquid has the same like our stomach and our mouth, a milieu with a lot of bacteria and what changes everything in science. Because we always thought the brain is in a liquid that is sterile. No, the brain lives in an own ecosystem that is alive too. You know, stuff like that can happen. That we have suddenly facts that are so individual that changes everything and brings progress. I'm thinking about AI too, you know, this artificial intelligence. We go with this very, very quickly. Maybe the leaders of this world finally decide to say, you know, with this AI right now, what we can do, we can give a lot of people some money that they can stay at home with their kids and we use the AI instead. Let us dream. Everything is possible, you know. We can fantasize. We are in gate 41 today. It's about fantasy. I can have a fantasy. I can use imagination. So, just so you know, it's not just all dark, even though it's called darkening of the light. You know, to have a good sleep, you usually darken the light too. So, I guess that's enough for what's to come in 2025. Thank you, please.
Well, maybe.
Right.